Okay, hello everybody. It is 9 o'clock, and we are about to start our exploration in the Haggadah. So, with Passover coming up, definitely a good opportunity to learn what is in the Haggadah and what its significance is. So first, if you don't already have one, I suggest finding a Haggadah. I have a few here. I think I'll be looking at this one today. And the contents of the Haggadah, the translations are different, but the content, the Hebrew content, and the basic idea of the translations will be the same. So no matter which one you're following in, it shouldn't make too much of a difference. Okay, let's get started. So the Haggadah begins, first of all, what does Haggadah mean? It comes from the Hebrew verb lehagid, which is to tell. And even the major part of the Haggadah that we're going to get to in a little bit is magid, and that means to tell. The idea of Passover, the main idea is to tell this story, tell the story of our Exodus from slavery to freedom, from Egypt, to Mount Sinai, and then ultimately to the land of Israel. That is the main idea of the Seder, and the Seder itself is named after that act of telling. Sorry, not the Seder, but the Haggadah itself and the service we do is named after the Magid section, the telling of the story. So even though you might think that the food is the most important, because it's the part that everybody waits for, actually, the most important part of the story of the Seder by far is the Magid section, is the actual telling of the story. Okay, so it begins with singing the table of contents. You go through the Seder, singing its separate parts. So I'll sing the melody that I do at my Seders, and maybe you'll recognize it. So it sounds like this. Kadesh urchatz, karpas yachatz, magi rochza, motzi matzah, maror korech, shulchan orech, safun barech, halel nirtzah. Okay, so what we just did, that's actually not a prayer at all. It's not even really part of the Seder itself necessarily. It's the table of contents. So in mine, it looks like this. And I know there are some Seders where that is omitted, but I think in many Seders, people sing through that. A Seder means order. And we kind of celebrate the order by singing through the order of the Seder. So let's jump into it. The first thing that happens at a Seder is, as we sung, Kadesh, or Kiddush. So we'll say Kiddush over a glass of wine. There's going to be 4 cups of wine throughout the entire Seder. The first one we pour right at the beginning. So let me find that blessing in here. So it's not Shabbat this year. If it were, then we would add an extra paragraph for Shabbat and change the liturgy a little bit. But we're going to learn this just without the Shabbat additions, because this year the Seder falls. I guess the second Seder is on Friday night. Okay, so on Friday night it'll be a little different. Thursday night it'll be one way. Friday night another way. So on Thursday night this year, you'll begin with Borei Pri Hagafen, which is you'll take your cup in your hand, and you'll first say Baruch. You'll sing it or say it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Borei Pri Hagafen. Okay, that's how you start. You start with the blessing over the wine itself. Then you'll add the special blessing was just on the wine itself. Here, I'll hold my coffee mug. This will act as our wine glass today. But that first blessing was just, blessed are you, Adonai, our God, King of the universe, who created the fruit of the vine. So we start by blessing God through the wine first, and then comes the actual blessing for Passover. So this is what it sounds like. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol aham v'romamanu mikol lashon v'kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'titen lanu Adonai Eloheinu b'yahava moadim l'simcha chagim uzmanim l'sason et yom chag hamatzot hazeh zman cherutenu mikra kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim ki banu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim Moedei kodshecha b'simcha u'sason hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh Yisrael v'hazmanim. So what we just said is a special blessing that we only say on Passover. This kind of Kiddush is used also for two other holidays, for Shavuot and Sukkot, but the words are a little different. I'll tell you where. So here's the translation. It says, blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe. And also, stopping there for a second, when we have blessings, it starts from very small, and and the blessing works its way out. Here's what I mean. So we start with blessed are you, Adonai. You is, singular. Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai our God, a little larger of a circle. That is our community. And then Melech HaOlam, King of the world. So that's how these blessings work, all blessings in general. They start from the small, and then they work their way out. So it says, blessed are you, Adonai, our God, King of the universe, who chose us from among all of the people and lifted us up and sanctified us with God's commandments and gave us, Adonai, our God, in love, holidays for joy, holidays and special times for gladness. The day of Chag HaMatzot, that's how this holiday is referred to in the Torah and how we refer to it here, which is the holiday of Matzah. So who gave us this holiday of Matzah? Zman Cherutenu, the time of our freedom, which is called holy, a reminder of the exodus from Egypt. For you have chosen us, you've sanctified us from all other peoples. You've given us holy times in joy and gladness. Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Israel and the holidays. Then we have one more blessing, which we say on both nights, where you won't drink the wine yet. We've already said two blessings. We've said the blessing over the wine itself, Borei Pri Hagafen. We've said a blessing over Passover, which ended with Baruch atah Adonai, blessed you Adonai, Mekadesh Yisrael v'hazmanim, who sanctified Israel and our holidays. And then finally, there's one more blessing before we actually sit and drink the wine, which is Shehechianu, which is a blessing thanking God for actually bringing us to this moment. And it sounds like this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, who sustained us and kept us alive and enabled us to reach this moment. So whenever we have our holidays, we say that special blessing. And then finally we sit down and we drink the wine, or in my case, coffee. Before we say Borei Pri Hagafen, we add a special paragraph about Shabbat, the same paragraph that we add on Friday nights before we say Kiddush. So in my Haggadah, whether I'm using this Haggadah today, in my Haggadah, you have this little section here that says, on Shabbat, add. And then there's this paragraph here that comes from the Torah. The paragraph is actually the seventh day of creation, just verbatim from the book of Genesis here. So you'll read that first, which starts with Vayhi Erev, Vayhi Voker, Yom HaShishi, and there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. Now the heavens and the earth were finished, etc. So you'll add that first. And also in the Kiddush itself, there are little bracketed words. So if you can see it here. You see any of the words in in brackets. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, like right there. So any bracketed word you'll add on Shabbat, because Shabbat Shabbat has its own kiddush, and we sanctify Shabbat too through a cup of wine. And so with this cup of wine, if it's Shabbat, we add Shabbat into that blessing to sanctify it as well. Okay, so we've gotten through Kiddush, and at that point, we sit down and we drink the first cup of wine, and then comes Orchatz, the washing of the hands. So this Orchatz, this washing of the hands is without a blessing. Let's see here. I think I have a hand washing. So what we will do here, this will be our prop for today. So this hand washing is like this. So both hand washings, you'll take it with the right hand, you'll pass it to the left, and then you'll do 3 times on your right hand, 3 times on your left hand. Then you'll dry your hands and you'll raise them, but this time for Orchatz, you don't do a blessing. Now, why is that? Why do we have a hand washing without a blessing? So there are a few reasons. First of all, in this age where we have to wash our hands, why not wash your hands multiple times? That's not the reason that our rabbis give, but it's one of the reasons that this rabbi is giving. There are 2 reasons that I know of, for Orchatz. The first is that there may have been a tradition where hands were washed before eating vegetables. Definitely when the Kohanim, the priests, would eat their truma. Truma was a special tithe, a special gift that the Israelites gave to the priests, and it would consist of any point in any Seder somebody was eating truma. Maybe that's why we still wash hands before eating vegetables. So that's a possibility, first of all, is because sometimes, historically we do have a situation where you would be washing hands before eating vegetables. But the reason that I like the best is the Seder it's meant to elicit asking questions. That's the idea of the Seder, is you want to get anybody who's there to ask questions, and this is an opportunity, first of all, to get kids to ask questions. So if you've been having Shabbat dinner at home, then and you go through the motions of a traditional Shabbat dinner where you say Kiddush, you wash your hands, you do Netilat Yadayim, and then you eat challah. If you've gone through that, then and your kids know, who are participating, any kid at the table, know that after you wash your hands comes the challah. But here we wash our hands without a blessing, and we don't eat challah. And the idea here is that a kid or somebody participating might ask the question, saying, "Why did we just wash our hands? We're not eating our dinner yet." And that's what you want. You want them to ask a question, and so you can tell them, well, this night is different from all other nights. And in fact, in the Talmud, it says that if questions must be asked at a Seder. They don't have to be the 4 questions, but the Seder has to consist of questions. So there are things built into the Seder just to elicit question asking, and this is one of them. It's a moment in the Seder that's made just to keep somebody on their toes, so that way they ask, what's going on here? This looks like celery. Some people do potatoes. Some people do a whole course just with foods that require the blessing Borei Pri Ha'adama. So these foods are specifically, foods that grow out of the ground. Like I mentioned, celery or potatoes, or carrots, root vegetables. By the way, bananas are also adama, notably. So what you'll do here is you'll take that vegetable. We use celery or parsley at our Seder, and you'll dip it 2 times in salt water. And before you eat it, you say the blessing that one says anytime they're about to eat a vegetable, a vegetable that grows out of the ground, which is Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Olam Borei Peri Ha'adama. Crunch, and then you eat the vegetable. Now, there's no explanation here in the Seder. We don't read anything necessarily about why we do karpas. There are definitely some in this Haggadah. There's a lot of explanations, but traditionally you just do the karpas. You eat the karpas, and that's the end of it. Well, why do we eat karpas? First of all, we dip that karpas in salt water. It's meant to be symbolic for the tears that we cried in Egypt. Another symbolic reason for the karpas is that the whole story of Egypt begins actually with dipping. What dipping am I talking about? I'll give you a chance to guess. See if you can think to yourself, go far back. I mean, we're now in the book of Genesis. The book of Exodus, of course, is where we actually leave Egypt. But in the book of Genesis, there's a moment of dipping that actually begins this whole process of the Israelites going to Egypt and coming out. Can you guess what it is? No, it's at the end of the book of Genesis. The last story is of Joseph, Jacob's youngest son. Joseph's brothers sell him into slavery, and then they take his coat. They kill a ram, I believe, or a goat. I forget which animal it is, but they killed an animal, dipped his coat in the blood, and then brought that coat to his father Jacob and said, do you recognize this? And Jacob says, yes, that's Joseph's coat. He must have been killed by an animal. And so Jacob thinks his son Joseph is dead, but actually his brothers have sold Joseph into slavery, and it's through that selling into slavery that Joseph is going to actually rise to power in Egypt and ultimately save his family in a time of famine when they come down to Egypt needing food. And then they're going to settle in Egypt, and hundreds of years will pass of slavery, and then they'll be brought out of Egypt. So it's actually the story of Egypt, if you want to take it all the way back, begins with an act of dipping. Specifically, the brothers dipping Joseph's coat into the blood. And so similarly, the very first thing we do in our Seder, at least one of the first things we do in our Seder, is dipping as a way to say, this is where the story begins. Okay, we've gone through Kadesh, Urchatz, Karpas, and then we have Yachatz, which is breaking the middle matzah. So we have 3 matzahs at a Seder. Usually, they're stacked one on top of the other, and you'll take the middle one out and break it in half. This breaking, after you break the matzah, you'll take the larger half and you'll put it back with the other 2. And then you'll take the smaller half, and with it, we'll begin the Magid section of the story. So Yachatz, for the breaking of a matzah, there's not a blessing. It's, again, just an act that we do in the Seder. One reason that we need 3 matzahs, you might ask, why not just have 1 matzah and we'll break it? But we have 3 because when we actually get to Hamotzi, we want to have 2 complete matzahs. In the same way that on Shabbat, you want 2 challahs. On Passover, you want 2 full matzahs. And so that's why we have 3. So that way we have 1 that we can break, but by the time we actually get into the Shulchan Orech, the meal section of the Seder, we have 2 complete matzahs, to make motzi on. Okay, so we put the larger of the broken pieces back into the group with the other matzahs, and we hold up the small matzah, the small piece of the broken matzah, And we begin the Magid section, the whole reason we're here, the telling of the story. And it begins with the words, Halach ma'anya di achalu abahatana, which is, behold, the bread of affliction which our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. Let all who are hungry come and eat. All who are needy come and celebrate, be free. So we start with saying this is the bread of affliction. And it's a great learning tool. If you've ever been a teacher, then you know that's why also we hold up the small matzah. We want to, not only do we want the bread of affliction to be like flat and crunchy and not so delicious, but we want the smaller piece of it to actually say, like, we're super afflicted. It's not just the quality of it, but it's also the quantity of the matzah too. So that's why we hold up the small piece when we say this is the bread of affliction. And then we say, all who are hungry, come and eat. So here, there are some who at this point will actually open the door, and as a gesture of hospitality for this part of the Seder, we'll say, all who are hungry, come and eat. So, but there's a little bit of a paradox here, because with Passover, with Seders, usually we know who's coming to the Seder beforehand. We've prepared a certain amount of food, and when we say the words, let all who are hungry come and eat, let all who are needy come and celebrate Passover with us, it's more symbolic than actually intended. We're not actually inviting people off the street to come in. And so what does that verse actually mean? It could mean, like, not just literally if you're hungry, come and eat, but there are those, and us at the Seder, we are spiritually hungry. We are in need of this Passover, in need of a reset, in need of a reminder of our community and a deeper connection with God and with each other. And so that hunger, we actually fill in the Seder. And notably, when we say all who are hungry, come and eat, we are not about to eat. We have a whole Magid section to get through, the longest part of the Seder, the actual telling of the story. So what we're actually about to be full of is not food, but our history and our peoplehood and a reminder of our connection to God. Okay, now we're in the Magid section, the telling of the story. So it began with holding up the matzah, and then it continues. The next thing that we'll do is the 4 questions. So I mentioned earlier that asking questions is critical in a Seder. If you've gone through the Seder and you haven't asked a single question, then you haven't fulfilled all of your obligations of the Seder. And so just in case you weren't tipped off by the hand washing without a blessing, or a question hasn't been asked at this point, there are 4 questions which are traditionally asked at every Seder, and this is, of course, the most well-known part of the Seder. Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol halaylo, etc. Why is this night different from all other nights? Great. Okay, we've asked the main question. Why is this night different from all other nights? And then, notably, the 4 questions are actually 4 observations, all informing that one question. The one question is, why is this night different from all other nights? And then the first question, which is really an observation, is Shebechol haleilot anu ochlim chametz umatzah halayla hazeh kulo matzah. On all other nights, we eat chametz and matzah. Tonight, we eat only matzah. You can make it a question. Tonight, we eat only matzah? But notably, that's not a question. The question is, why is this night different from all other nights? So that's the first question or observation. The second is, Shebechol haleilot anu ochlim sha'ar yorakot halayla hazeh maror. On all other nights, we eat all kinds of vegetables. Tonight, only maror. The third question, Shebechol haleilot ein anu matpilim afilu pa'am echat. On all other nights, we don't even dip one time. Tonight, we've dipped 2 times. Okay, And also notice that question could have been asked earlier. When we do the karpas, when we do the dipping, we dip twice, and it's an opportunity for somebody who's new to the Seder or for kids at the Seder to say, why are we dipping twice? That's the point of that thing, to actually elicit the question, which, in case it wasn't asked earlier, is asked now. And then the fourth question or observation here is, on all other nights, anu ochlim bein yoshvim u bein misubim. On all other nights, we eat either sitting or reclining. Halayla hazeh kulanu misubim. Tonight, we eat only reclining. So the way that actually looks at the Seder is anytime you drink a cup of wine, you'll recline. So these are four questions. These are four observations that really inform that one question. Why is this night different from all other nights? And then it goes through all the things that are different about tonight. Only matzah, only maror, we dip 2 times, and we're all reclining. Also, I forgot to mention, very important, at this point in the Seder, before we do the 4 questions, we fill up our second cup of wine, but we don't drink it. This cup of wine is going to sit there through the entire Magid service, the entire telling of the story. And the wine itself is going to act as a kind of witness, like it's going to listen, you can imagine, to the telling of the story. And then at the end of the telling of the story, after we've shared, our tale of going from, slavery to freedom, and our hope for a future of continued freedom, that's the cup of wine we drink. This is, our cup of redemption, our cup of that heard our story and is witness to our still being here. So the second cup remains through the entire telling of the story. Okay, at this point, we've asked our 4 questions, which is really one question. Why is this night different from all other nights? And then those observations. And then we begin the answer. We begin the answer of why this question is different from all other nights with the words, Avadim hayinu lefaro v'mitzrayim. We were once the slaves of Pharaoh in Egypt. The first way to answer this question. This night is different from all other nights. Why? Because we were slaves in Egypt and God brought us out. Okay, that's a very reasonable answer. Later, we're going to see there's another way to begin the story and to answer the question. It doesn't necessarily have to start with we were slaves in Egypt. In fact, you could start the story earlier. So when you ask why is this night different from all other nights? There's one opinion in the Talmud that says, well, when you start to tell the story about why this night is different from all other nights, you start from we were slaves in Egypt. There's another opinion that says you start from actually Jacob, one of our patriarchs, when he was working for his brother-in-law Lavan, Jacob's uncle Lavan, and how Lavan would oppress Jacob and try to kill him. So there are 2 different opinions, and we're going to see that one come up later in the Seder. About where we actually begin the story. And there's also a third opinion that maybe we begin the story even farther back with Jacob's grandfather, with Abraham. So the question of why is this night different from all other nights actually has a few different ways that you can answer the question, ways that we're going to see, God willing, over the coming weeks. So we're going to stop here for today. We are just beginning the Magid section, the telling of the story. Next time, we're going to start from here, from Avadim Hayinu, from the section we were slaves in Egypt. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something, and see you next time.